Welcome to the Downtown Madison Happenings podcast. I'm your host, Jason Ilstrup, president of Downtown Madison, Inc. On this episode, we're excited to welcome our friends from Agrace. We have Danielle DiGennaro, director of supportive care, and Liz Kopling, associate vice president of marketing and communications for Agrace. Before we start with our conversation, I want to thank our friends at Sustainable HR PEO and Colath CPA, a local professional services firm supporting Madison businesses and nonprofits with their various back of office needs, including supporting organizations like Downtown Madison, Inc. The firm aids to provide high quality professional services and true business partnership to small and mid-size employers. If you're interested in accounting, tax advisory, HR, payroll, and benefits administration, Sustainable HR PEO and Colath CPA are local providers who are committed to serving Madison and the downtown community. So thank you to our friends at Colath. Again, we are excited to welcome our friends from Agrace Hospice and Supportive Care. We have Danielle and Liz here today to talk about more than just the hospice care. I think many of us in the community know the organization for their hospice, but there's so much more to the organization. And we're going to begin with Liz to go over, what is happening at Agrace and talk about all the different work that your organization provides so much to our community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jason, so much for having us. Agrace is so proud to be part of the Madison community, and we have been for more than 45 years. So we started in 1978 as the area's first hospice provider. We were started by a group of volunteers, and our mission is really to provide care and support through the stages of serious illness. We started as a hospice, and that's how most people think of Agrace. But we're here today to share some of the things that we do in addition to hospice care to help people who are aging, seriously ill, and at the end of life. So I'll just go ahead and jump right into a little bit.
Absolutely. I was going to ask what other services are provided, and the community, as you know, we know that from hospice, but there's so much more to the organization. We'd love to hear more.
Great. Well, like I mentioned, we do support people while they're aging, or if they have a prognosis of 6 months or less, which would make them a good candidate for our hospice care services. But there's other ways we can help as well. So let me just show a little bit more about that. So hospice is what most people are familiar with. It's the blend of physical, emotional, and spiritual care for those people with a prognosis of 6 months or less. We provide it in people's homes or wherever they call home. It could be an assisted living or a skilled nursing facility throughout any of our 19 counties that we serve in South Central Wisconsin. We also have a service that is relatively new. It's called Agrace Age at Home, and that is our non-medical home care service. It is intended to help people stay independent as they age, and we come to people's homes. We provide a large menu of services, whether it's companionship, cooking meals, doing light housekeeping services, taking people to appointments. This is a private pay service that Agrace offers to people throughout Dane County. We also have an adult day center. So this opened on the Beltline in 2021. It's for adults who would like companionship, activities, a safe and secure place to spend their days, where we provide meals, chair yoga, different presentations, music therapy. And it is also a private pay service for any adult with cognitive decline or somebody who would like to spend the days with a bit more companionship. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And again, we're located on the Beltline. And then we also have a community grief program that's available to anyone in the community who is grieving the loss of someone who has died. They don't have to have had experience with Agrace specifically. We provide virtual grief support groups, one-on-one grief support counseling, and we also have a freestanding grief support center that is located in Fitchburg, just south of the Beltline. It is a wonderful space where we have all different types of therapeutic playrooms for children. We do family grief support groups, again, that one-on-one grief support counseling. And it's available to anyone in the community, regardless of their ability to pay. We do have charitable care and other ways to support people, so that payment for the services would not be a barrier to receiving care and support. And then also we have thrift stores throughout Dane County. There's 3 in Madison, one on the east side of this Madison, one on the west side, and our thrift home store, which is on Stone Road. Those are run mostly through the help of our volunteers. So we have volunteers that help at the thrift stores, as well as with different types of patient care, different types of roles at our Madison facility, whether they're hospitality volunteers, flower volunteers that put together beautiful arrangements for patients, families, and staff at our Fitchburg facility. There's many ways to get involved. So if anyone is interested in that, we encourage them to check out our website, agrace.org, for much more information.
I mean, there's so much more happening in the Grace sphere than I would have thought. How did you first get involved, Liz, with Agrace?
Yes, I've been with Agrace since 2010, Jason. So we've done a tremendous amount of growth and been able to provide services beyond just hospice care since that time. We have expanded into additional counties and added more thrift stores. So it's been a really exciting time to be a part of the Agrace organization. And it's never been a better time. We were just, again, ranked the #1 top workplace in the Madison region in the State Journal's rankings. We have a lot of exciting things going on, and including some upcoming sessions for the community that our supportive care program is offering. And that's where I'll turn it over to Danielle to talk about supportive care and some of the advanced care planning that's happening this month.
Excellent. Well, Liz, thank you for the work that you're doing. And Danielle, you're relatively new to the Grace community, and you came directly from Florida, but have a long history in working as a nurse practitioner in hospice. What drew your attention to want to move up here to Madison and work for Grace?
I think, like a lot of other people in Madison, we relocated to be closer to UW. So my husband is employed at UW, and while pursuing a better understanding of what the medical community was like up here, the word of mouth that I kept hearing in perpetuity was check out Agrace, check out Agrace. And so it was a perfect fit, given I came from hospice-led palliative and supportive care in other states. So I found my way here.
And well, we're glad you did. And welcome to Madison, and now heading up the supportive care program, which is a huge part of the work of Agrace. We'd love to hear, exactly what the slide said. What is Agrace supportive care?
Yeah, well, thank you. Agrace supportive care is what Agrace calls its palliative care program, which is a medical specialty to take care of patients that are seriously or chronically ill. We tend to think of hospice care as needing to have a prognosis of 6 months or less. Palliative care is what I like to call intentionally vague. So we know that it's really difficult to estimate how much life is remaining for a lot of different diseases. And so palliative care or supportive care just kind of encompasses chronic and serious illnesses, because we don't always have the expertise to make really good projections as people approach end of life.
So, for you, you're working with a tremendous amount of folks that are in, critical times in their lives, their families' lives. How does Grace sort of wrap that system of care, that supportive care around not just the person that is going through these issues, but also the family as well? I know that has to be a huge part of the work that you all do.
It is. Palliative care very much is whole person care. So very much like Liz mentioned earlier, we help people deal with not only physical needs like symptom management, but we also help them deal with spiritual or faith-based concerns. We may talk about caregiving, what comes next as far as planning for independence or a loss of independence or change of independence. We do a lot of family meetings and making sure that whoever the patient deems their family or close support is also well educated and has their questions answered, so that they can also be part of the care team. So it really is what we call multidisciplinary, meaning that we not only have medical providers in nurse practitioners and doctors, but we also work closely with our spiritual support, as well as social work and other resources.
It's interesting, this multidisciplinary team approach, we're seeing this a lot more in other fields, but particularly, in the medical field, I think it's so important, but it's a relatively new model of care. This palliative care and hospice care has come a long way. What sort of advances have you seen in your career, and what do you think the future holds for even more advances to creating a more holistic and multidisciplinary approach for the patients and the families that you serve?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We're seeing a lot of kind of new ideas, mainly around how we can engage and interact with other disciplines. So palliative care typically engages very closely with social work and spiritual support because palliative care grew out of hospice care. We're seeing palliative care collaborate more closely with places like hospitals and rehabs because we know that when patients get discharged, they often need a higher level of support than prior to going into the hospital or rehab facility with things that may have been unexpected, like a stroke or a heart attack.
You're sort of seeing the run of the gamut of the folks that you're helping, and many people in serious need. This has to be a tough profession for you, but a very rewarding profession for you. Why did you originally get into, I know you started as a nurse practitioner, but how did you get into the palliative care side of things and into the hospice work? And why is it so rewarding for you to be in this field?
Yeah, it's a great question. I will say for out of all medical specialties, palliative and hospice medicine is one of the highest burnout fields because of the kind of stress level and the seriousness of the conversations that we have on a daily basis. I think my experience mimics how a lot of other people also got into the field. I previously worked in critical care, ICU level care, and transplant medicine, and would frequently get kind of both disappointed and curious what happened to those patients that weren't candidates for surgery or for whatever the next therapy was, and kind of always wondered what happened to them after they left the hospital, and wanted to have an opportunity to kind of focus on that quality of life and how we can make people feel as good as they possibly can, but also have the space to have really serious conversations and make sure that people had all their questions answered and really understood their illness.
I mean, you're working with some of the most vulnerable people in our community, and I just applaud you for your, daily efforts and what you do. We work with another nonprofit called Solace, who's trying to create a hospice and palliative care site for people experiencing homelessness, and we're just applauding the work that they do, the work that you do. I can only imagine how difficult this is. So Danielle, thank you for all the work that you're doing. So in that vein, what can the community do? What can DMI members do, other members of the community do to help your work or Grace's work? And I know Liz mentioned volunteering, but are there other ways that folks can get involved to try to help this important medical field?
Yeah, so certainly, I think what adds to our burnout and our struggle as providers is when we see people come to us too late. So when they need services, but maybe they don't know that we exist or what we can offer, be that hospice care, palliative care, age at home, any of the service lines. It pains us to hear that, I wish I found you sooner. So to have a level of awareness is very important. For folks that maybe don't meet that criteria of having a chronic or serious illness, but still want to be proactive, we are hosting free virtual workshops for advanced care planning. Advanced care planning is both a conversation, but also documents on how to plan for your future from a medical perspective. This can be done by anyone over the age of 18 and is essentially a tool that their families and loved ones can use if there was ever an emergency and the person couldn't make medical decisions for themselves. So when someone is older and has a chronic illness, it's a little easier to get these documents in place because typically we can understand that if someone follows the normal course of illness, we can have these conversations and integrate them into either visits with primary care or palliative or supportive care. But occasionally the unexpected happens, whether that's a car accident, a heart attack, or an unexpected cancer diagnosis, which can happen to folks at younger ages. So we do encourage everyone over the age of 18 to at least have started to have some of these conversations with their families and maybe even consider to document them. So our free workshops, all the information that is up on the screen is easily found on our website, agrace.org. The virtual sessions are hosted by social workers who have an incredible amount of knowledge about advanced care planning. They review why advanced care planning is important, what advanced care planning means, what specific documents are included in advanced care planning, and then walk the participants through having conversations with their family, but also completing the documents, where to find them, and what to do with them after you've completed them. We hate to kind of hear that people say, we put them in a safety deposit box, because no one knows where to find them. These are documents that should live with your primary care. Some people, we even have dropped them off at their local emergency rooms so that they're also within their hospital's medical records if an emergency should happen.
Yeah, thank you for to get this message out about planning, because these are difficult times, right, for folks, and they're not thinking necessarily straight, and they're worried about what's happening with their loved ones. And please do use Grace's resources to be able to help you all. All right, this has certainly been a sobering topic. We appreciate all that you do, but we're going to try to end a little lighthearted, and with our Fast and Furious 5. So Liz and Danielle, I'm going to ask you 5 questions about downtown. Just answer them as fast as you can with whatever's at the top of your mind. Now, I'll admit, Danielle, you're relatively new to the community. You're not even 6 months yet, right? Said you moved in November?
Yes.
So sometimes it might just be aspirational. So I'm going to ask this question aspirational. So Liz, as a longtime Madisonian, what's your favorite downtown restaurant?
Tempest. No hesitation.
Tempest is good. Okay, Danielle, I'm going to ask it differently. What's the restaurant you've been hearing about, not named Tempest, that you're most excited to go to?
Red.
It's excellent. I have been there. It's excellent. All right. Danielle, have you been to the Union?
No.
Oh, can't ask you this question then. All right, Liz, what's your favorite Babcock flavor?
It's not the orange with the chocolate chips. I'm sorry. It's going to be blue.
Oh, sacrilegious. So you're saying it's not. So that's a negative comment. What's your positive comment? Which one is your favorite?
It's the Blue Moon for sure. I've always wanted to try the orange chocolate chip one, but it kind of freaks me out, to be honest with you.
I bet Blue Moon doesn't freak you out?
No, I'm not afraid of blue dye, but I'm afraid of the combination of orange and chocolate chips.
So Danielle, you're not a native Wisconsinite. Do you know what Blue Moon ice cream is?
I don't, but it feels like I have to try it now.
Danielle, we have a lot of things we need to do now.
I have had cheese curds. I went on.
There you go. Okay, Danielle, what's your favorite cheese curd in town?
Old fashioned.
Bingo. Good choice. They literally squeak. That's the whole thing. They can squeak sometimes. Just to get back to Blue Moon, it's actually, the recipe is a secret. All the companies that produce it don't tell you what it is. So nobody knows what flavor. Is it Fruit Loops? Is it blue, like a blueberry? But I will tell you this, it will turn your tongue blue. So just know that as well. All right. One last question. You have a perfect day in downtown Madison. You got guests coming to town. Danielle, say you got family coming from New York or back from Florida again. Where are you going to take them? Danielle, you first downtown, then we'll end with Liz.
I have kids, and so we've really enjoyed the Kids Museum. So I would go there.
How old are your children?
5 and 8.
Well, I've got a 1.5-year-old, so maybe we'll see you at the Children's Museum soon. All right, Liz, what are you doing on your perfect day?
Well, I'm going to leave the kids at home, and I'm going to take my friends to the farmer's market. We're going to get some pastries and coffee and walk around, get the squeaky cheese curds, go up to the top of the Capitol. We're going to get a cocktail outdoors at Cooper's Tavern, and then end the day in the Overture for a show.
You could do this. You want to work for DMI to sell downtown?
Well, if you let me investigate the origins of Blue Moon, then maybe I will. We'll make it a deal.
I think it's a trade secret. You're going to get in trouble. Danielle, here's your one piece of advice. If you haven't been to the top of the Capitol yet, I would highly recommend it. It's a really nice orientation of the Capitol Square.
Yeah,
Danielle.
I actually
Yeah.
went to the top, and my 5-year-old daughter discovered that the woman on the top of the Capitol building, her name is Wisconsin, and she tells everyone now.
It is. And the model's name is actually Audrey. And there's a restaurant in downtown who in late 1800s, she was one of the first sort of international supermodels who actually
Wow.
sat for the sculptor. Yes. So there's another piece of random trivia. Here's another piece of random trivia. Liz, your answer about the farmer's market was right. I don't know if you heard, but Tom Colicchio from Bravo's Top Chef did say on camera that he thinks that Madison's farmer's market, the Dane County Farmer's Market, is the best farmer's market in the world. So I think we should end there, don't you?
Yes. Great minds think alike. I completely concur.
Danielle, Liz, thank you for all the work you do at Agrace. Please do get in contact with our friends at Agrace if you need any planning needs. If you want to volunteer, help out however you can. This is important work. Thank you for both what you do, and thank you for your support of downtown. Thank you to our friends at Sustainable PEO and Colath CPA for your partnership here on the Downtown Madison Happenings podcast. I'm Jason Ilstrup. We'll see you downtown here sometime soon. Have a great day, and thanks for all the support.